Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at right now in the world, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Teacher Greg. So in today's video, I would like to talk to you about the IELTS test. This is a very well-known test around the world. It's particularly used in the UK, Canada, South Africa, New Zealand and Australia. It actually stands for International English Language Testing System, and there's two types of tests. We've got the general test and the academic test. So now the general test is what you would use for immigration, if you're immigrating to one of the countries I mentioned before, so either the UK, South Africa, New Zealand or Australia. And then the academic test is if you are going to university in one of those countries, either on a bachelor's degree or postgraduate degree. You will need to get a certain score in an IELTS test as stipulated by that university. So that brings me on to the scoring. So the scoring ranges from 0 to 9, but there is no pass or fail in the IELTS test. Basically, you will be given a score that you will have to reach in order to achieve your goal, but it's not a pass or fail as such. And then we have the sections. So there are 4 sections in the test. We've got the listening, reading, writing and speaking, and you'll get an individual score for each of those parts of the test, and then those scores will be averaged to give you your overall score. Okay, so that's an overview of the IELTS exam. Now let's look at each individual section. Okay, welcome back guys. So in the next section I would like to talk about the writing part. This is a section that many students often struggle with because the tasks are very specific to IELTS. You need to hit certain criteria that you wouldn't normally write in an everyday sense, but it's specific for the IELTS exam. So basically the writing is separated into 2 tasks. We've got task 1 and task 2. Now task 2 is the same for the general and the academic exam, in that it's an essay type question where you have to write at least 250 words to answer a question based on an essay type question. So it might be a pros and cons type essay, weigh up the advantages and disadvantages. It might be a cause and effect type essay, something along those lines. In my later videos I will give you some tips and strategies on how to maximize your score in the writing section. Whereas in task 1 it is slightly different for the academic and general. So for the general exam you have to write a letter, maybe it could be a job application, a letter of complaint, something of that nature. Whereas for the academic you have to report on some visual data. So you'll be given some sort of visual data such as a pie graph, a bar chart, a flow chart, something like that, and you have to simply say what you see, talk about the changes, the major points, the lowest points and so on. And again I will give you more tips and strategies and share my knowledge and experience with you on how to maximize your score with regards to the writing. Okay, so that's it for the writing. Let's move on to the next section, which is the speaking. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the video. So next I'd like to talk about the speaking section. Now I mentioned the writing is a section that students often have difficulty with, but the speaking section is by far and away the most feared section, because you are with an examiner in a room on your own. It's a one-on-one situation, and you have to speak, obviously, to the examiner. I'm actually a certified IELTS examiner, so I do have a bit of experience and knowledge about this section. So the speaking section basically lasts between 11 and 14 minutes. It's separated into 3 different sections. So part 1, you have to answer some questions on familiar topics. So it's actually fairly straightforward. They will ask you questions about your family, where you're from, are you studying or working, your hobbies, and so on. So it's not too demanding, just to kind of put you at ease a little bit. Then part 2, you are given a topic card where you have 1 minute to prepare what you're going to say about that topic card. So this part can be particularly challenging. And then you have the long turn where you have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes, basically without the examiner interrupting, about this topic card question. And then in part 3, which lasts from 4 to 5 minutes, you have to speak with relation to the same subject or topic that you received in part 2, but in a more abstract, some more challenging questions. And this is a two-way conversation with you and the examiner. So again, as I mentioned for the writing, I will be sharing some tips and strategies on how to maximise your score for the speaking section in my future videos. Okay, let's have a look next at the reading. Welcome back, guys, to part 3 of my introduction to IELTS video. So in part 3 I'm going to talk about the reading section. So this basically lasts for 1 hour, same as the writing, I should have mentioned, lasts for 1 hour. And yeah, you have 3 different texts that you will have to answer some questions about. So you might have a gap fill, multiple choice, headings and title matching, something along that nature. There will be a certain variety of question types. So basically, yeah, you have 3 texts. We usually advise students to spend 20 minutes on each text, so that, yeah, you spend an equal amount of time on each text. Now, it can be quite challenging because these texts are often of an academic or scientific nature. So obviously you don't have time to carefully read the whole text. You have to use some specific strategies in order to maximise your time to try and answer the questions. So yeah, so that's basically it. It's 3 texts, a variety of questions on each text, and you should spend 20 minutes on each text because you have an hour in total. And again, I will share some of my knowledge and experience with regards to the reading part of the test in my future videos in order to help you get the best score that you can achieve. Okay, let's look at the last section, which is the listening section. Okay, welcome back to part 4 of this video. So in the last section we're going to talk about the listening. So this is a section that lasts for 30 minutes. There are 4 sections. You will hear some conversations, and section 2 is a monologue, which means only one person is speaking, and they will be of a variety of topics. So some of them will be about everyday situations, some will be of an academic or scientific nature, and they will be quite challenging because you only get 1 opportunity to listen. You cannot listen again if you miss the answers. So again, you need to adopt certain strategies and tips to try and maximise your score, because it's quite a challenging part of the test. At the end of the test, you'll get 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Thanks for listening, guys.